Good morning, boys and girls, and welcome back again to geography. Now, for last week's lesson, boys and girls, it was basically a catch-up lesson. You had to make sure that everything was catched up in your book, especially activity 1 as well as activity 2 in your workbook. Now, today we are going to start on a new concept, which is called grid references. Now, you might ask yourself what grid referencing is or what happens. Now, think about this. How can I tell someone else, where am I? Now, if you are sitting in your classroom and you're trying to direct someone, how can you tell them where are you, how to get there, and how far it is? Now, map makers have created what we call grid references. Now, boys and girls, before I continue on with this lesson, please make sure that you have been given your grid references set of notes by your teacher, either on Friday or on Monday. Please make sure that you cut them in, you stick them in flat into your workbook with today's date. Now, there is no need for a heading because the heading is already on your worksheet. Now, boys and girls, grid references. I am reading from your notes, and please also make sure that you have a highlighter ready. We are going to highlight a few short important points about grid references. Now, boys and girls, as I said, map makers create something called grid references. Now, what grid references actually do or what they are initially. Now, think about the word grid. A grid is a pattern of straight lines that cross over each other to form blocks. I hope everyone is with me. Now, please make sure that on your set of notes, you highlight what the word grid means under the new word box, as well as please highlight grid references. Now, grid references are the numbers and letters on a grid. We will find out more about this as we go along into our lesson. For now, just please make sure that you have highlighted those short points on your notes. So under the new words box, make sure that you have highlighted. Now, boys and girls, as I said, grid references. Now, the concept of alphanumeric grid references. A grid is a pattern of straight lines that are drawn over a map. Now, grids help us find places on a map. A map with a grid has lines that are drawn over it. The spaces between those lines are given numbers along the top and letters down along the side of the map. These numbers and letters give you grid references. Now, please highlight that point. Now, please highlight these numbers as well as letters give you grid references on your notes, please. All right. Now, grid references help you to find a place on a map. I hope everyone has understood this part of the notes. Now, very, very, very important. How to read and give grid references on a simple map. We are still on your notes. Now, if you look at your notes, as well as on the screen here that I'm reading from. To find any place on a map, you look along the line, along the side and the top to get the number and letter of the block. For example, you will have A2 or as well you will have B3. Now, let's look everyone on the board. It's the same example that you have in front of you on your notes. Now, if you look on the left-hand side here, we have our letters. Now, our letters will always be on the left-hand side going down, and our numbers will always be on the top. Now, letters are written in the spaces between the lines down on the side of the picture. So you will always have your letters coming down. Now, on top here, we have numbers which are written in the spaces between the lines along the top of the picture. A grid is a grid with symbols. Now, I hope everyone understands. Now, this is how a grid map would look like. We have our map here, but because we need to give grid references to tell someone where we are and how to get where we are, we will always find that a grid will be placed over that map. Now, if you look here, we will have these lines going down, and then we will have these lines going across. I hope everyone understands. Now, for example, a very simple example, if you look at the grid A3. A3, we have a symbol of a house, excuse me, meaning that there is a house in that place. Now, boys and girls, for today's lesson, it was very short and straight to the point lesson. After you have stuck in your notes, please write activity 3 and complete this very short activity. On your left-hand side of the screen, you have the key. I have given you a key, and then I have also given you the exact same map that we were studying on the previous slide. Now look at the grid and the key and write down the answers to these questions. Now it's very, very simple. You look at the key as well as the grid, and you are going to answer these simple questions. Now, what symbol do you find in A4? So you are going to look at your grid. We've got A, and then you count and you get to 4, and then you are going to see, okay, there's a white envelope on A4. What does this white envelope stand for? It stands for a, very good, a post office. Then you are going to fill in your answer for A. You will do the same for B, C, and then for number 2, you are going to give the grid references for the police station. Where do I find the police station? Is it C4, A5, or where? And where do I find the school? Now, once you are done with this activity 3, please make sure that you rule off. Thank you very much, boys and girls, and I will be talking to you again when we have geography.